Yeah. Good morning. We are going to stand together for the procession of faculty and students. Wonderful. Please be seated. Good morning again, and what a beautiful day for a graduation ceremony. I'm delighted to be here, and I'll be working with everybody to move us through this important ritual. My name is Lauren Intolabi Camille, and I am the Dean for Naropa College and the Graduate Collective. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I've been here for just under 3 months, so I have to say that being up here at the podium and in the spotlight is quite something. And I'm really grateful to be here. And I love seeing our wonderful students. Congratulations on all of your accomplishments and all of your hard work, and congratulations as well to everyone here in the room who has supported and guided and mentored and loved everyone who is sitting and graduating today. So thank you for that. It is now my pleasure to welcome Naropa President Chuck Leaf to lead the opening gong and bow, which is our traditional Naropa way of opening and closing events, meetings, classes, and special occasions. President Leaf.
Yeah, please join me if you would like in the bow, and then I'll ring the gong to start our ceremony. I want to thank all of you for being here, and welcome to the graduates. The winter graduation has always been our more intimate opportunity to come together. The large spring graduation in usual times at Mackey Auditorium is grand, but I've come to really like the opportunity for us to come together in this smaller group, although I would say very powerful group from looking at the graduates. The other good news is because the winter graduation is smaller, what I say has to be shorter. So good for all of us, perhaps. So I want to welcome all of you, the graduates. It's kind of funny to have you there. I'm going to have to figure this out. As you're marking the successful completion of your study and practice at Naropa and receiving bachelor and master degrees in your respective fields. And I also want to welcome all the family, the friends, faculty, staff, Naropa students to this graduation ritual. As you know, the staff has worked really hard to support the health and safety of our Naropa community, and at the same time to do this work to organize our ability to come together in person. And so I just want to express a lot of gratitude for people for figuring out how we could hold an event like this, and thank you from all of us. Being together in community at Naropa is taking on broader meaning and has for the last couple of years as we increase the number of ways that people can connect with Naropa, including in virtual spaces. In time, I think that virtual Naropa and in-person Naropa together will allow for greater diversity and inclusion, as well as maintaining the intimacy offered by our residential community. So for today, I want to welcome all of you who are here, being here in person and joining in this celebration of the accomplishments of our graduates. Let me say, I'm confident that if you haven't read, heard, or spoken enough about the unexpected COVID challenges that we're sharing, you can get your fill of that somewhere else. And so we can focus on your accomplishments and the promise of an unfolding future. What we can look at today is the social impacts, not just because of the pandemic, but also the ones that are arising from the urgent dialogue around the issues of justice and equity, sparked, of course, by the violence perpetrated against so many people of color in the U.S., but more broadly, we're also illuminating the economic and the power dynamics that are increasingly dividing us socially and politically. Naropa is enriched by welcoming students from 30 or more states and 15 or 20 countries each year. The richness of experiences and perspectives should be the foundation of a diverse community with distinctive expressions. But social and political distinctions are not a problem, rather they're an opportunity, I think. When difference, however, is met with aggression, ignorance, intolerance, greed, we all have a challenge to do what we can to break those patterns and to reemerge from a place of greater integration, in recognition of the fact of the interdependence of all of us. From our founding, Naropa's mission has been to offer the disciplines which support both personal growth and awareness, as well as those which support the confidence each student needs to productively and passionately engage in an increasingly complex world of humans and other sentient beings, as well as the built and the natural environment. The co-equal emphasis on inner work and effective external expression is the key to resilience. So many people lack the tools to transmute the energy of burnout and trauma, and offering antidotes to those struggles has been the foundational underlay of Naropa from the beginning. When we convened, it's actually almost a half century ago, 48 years ago, social and emotional learning was just a concept that was coming out of some research labs at Yale. And the field of emotional intelligence, which seems ubiquitous today, was in its infancy. The popular father of emotional intelligence, the journalist Daniel Goleman, who wrote the seminal book in the field, actually began outlining that book when he was here at Naropa in that summer of 1974 and for a year and a half or so after that. I'm certain that Danny, being in the rich environment of spiritual teachers, poets, writers, performers, psychologists, scientists, and activists, offered a potent environment from which he was able to evolve something which has become an entire way of defining what it means to be a whole, full human being in this society. But labels aside, Naropa's aspiration was ahead of its time on the one hand, and at the same time, represented a Western expression of what were millennia of contemplative traditions, all brought together at this one moment in this one spot 48 years ago in Boulder. The traditions in which mindfulness and compassion joined with academic rigor and artistic discipline to offer a full experience of study, personal practice, and service was the founding vision of Naropa and remains so today. The Naropa faculty are both connected by lineage and founding vision to the extraordinary forebearers who led us to create this wonderful university, and are at the same time pioneers in their own fields, creating fresh and innovative ways to demonstrate the truth of the statement that East meets West and the sparks will fly, that declaration that was made, that first convocation, the first summer in 1974. We're incredibly glad to have shared time at Naropa with all of you, and endlessly thankful for the energy, the wisdom, the creative process, and the critical thinking that you invested in our community. So I want to congratulate you on your stellar accomplishments. Please keep Naropa in your hearts as we will keep you in ours. And congratulations again for the achievement that you've made. So at the large spring graduation, I always say a few lines of a poem that our founder, Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche, wrote. Somehow I've never done that in the winter, and I thought, why not? You all should hear the same poem. So I will do that again today. It's become a tradition for the 10 years or so that I've been in this seat, and I hope it will continue on. I've taken the liberty just to say there's a couple of Sanskrit words which I've translated into English so that we don't have to use this as a moment for studying Sanskrit. Trungpa Rinpoche said, "In the jungles of flaming ego, may there be cool iceberg of awakened heart. On the racetrack of bureaucracy, may there be the walk of the elephants. May the sumptuous castle of arrogance be destroyed by diamond-like confidence. In the garden of gentle sanity, may you be bombarded by coconuts of wakefulness." So congratulations to all of you. Look up.
It's now my pleasure to invite Professor Karen Kissel-Wagela to the stage. It is to, Karen teaches in the Contemplative Psychotherapy and Buddhist Psychology program and has been a core professor at Naropa since 1985. I'm only reading my notes, sorry about that, since 1982. Please welcome Professor Kissel-Wagela.
Hi, everybody. They had to get a box for me to stand on. I've been here a long time and I started shrinking. President Leaf, trustees, faculty, staff, and especially graduating students. It's the last day you can be called students here for now, unless you come back. And I don't think any of you actually know me, which is kind of strange, isn't it? I don't know any of you. I looked at all your names. I'm quite provincial. I know the people in my department. In any case, it's nice to meet you. I want to talk, I was thinking this morning, what did I really want to say to you all? And I realized it's very simple. I want to say, don't miss your lives. Don't miss your lives. And it's not just be here now. It's, well, that's what I'm going to talk So I want to talk about transition. Wow, that's a bright light. So I would like this to be for the graduates, but also all of you. So I want to talk about uncertainty, not knowing, change, and especially endings. You're at the end of quite a journey for most of you. I assume that's true. Naropa is not easy, and not in the ways you might expect. It's not easy emotionally, psychologically, even physically. I want to talk about a concept in Buddhist teachings, which I learned first from Judy Leaf, who's sitting right in front of me. Bardo, teachings on Bardo. So Bardo is a Tibetan word, and I'm sorry, Chuck, I don't have a good translation. But I think of it as the in-between time. When I was a kid, back in the Middle Ages, if you wanted to communicate with somebody, you wrote them it was called a letter. There was long-distance phone calls, but they were very expensive. So if you wanted to communicate with someone for more than half a second, you wrote them a letter. And then it would go in the mail. It was quite cheap then. In my youth, they were 3-cent stamps for first class. I think they were even cheaper before that. And you would send it off, and it would be gone. And then maybe a week later, if it was really somebody who got it and really was fast, you might get a response in a week or so. So that in-between time, the waiting in between, not expecting something to happen, was it was just normal. We've lost that, haven't we? I know that for me, if I send a text or an email or whatever people are doing now that I'm not up on, I get annoyed if I haven't heard back, certainly that day, or preferably sooner. I get impatient. So we've lost that space. But the truth is, it's still there. We still have in-between time. And that's what I'm inviting you to not miss. So, Bardo means, one meaning for it is the time between the ending of one thing and the birth of another. We could say between death and birth. So you are dying as Naropa students, and we don't know how you're going to take birth yet. You may have plans, but they may or may not be what happens. So, usually we think of our life as kind of going along, and that's normal life. And then other things happen that interrupt it, like the COVID vaccine, or breaking up with a loved one, or a relationship that ends, or someone dies or gets sick, or we get sick. But we regard those as interruptions in our normal life. Am I making sense to you? Okay. So Bardo teachings kind of put that on its head, turn it upside down. And they say what's really going on all the time are not interruptions, but gaps. You've probably heard that word here. There are gaps all the time. There's things are ending and other things are beginning. And one of the ways that I like to understand this is that this very moment, take a moment to live this moment. All of you, I invite you. Alive in this moment. That moment's already gone, right? The next moment is taking birth. It's gone now too. So in between those moments, there is a little gap of space, timeless space. So I invite you to enjoy, actually, the gaps. It's interesting that the microphone is over here where I can talk to the graduates, but I can't really talk to anybody else. Okay, so what happened? what do we usually do in transition? Speaking for myself and probably all of you, we do interesting things. Urban Dictionary talks about shady bounce, and it talks about ghosting. That's one way we deal with transitions. We just don't show up. We just leave. Or we just get left, which is even worse. I never much liked that myself. You know, you're in a relationship and then suddenly that person isn't there anymore and you can't hear from them, you can't connect with them, they're gone. You know that one? Does anybody miss that one? It's awful, right? So that's one thing that we do. Another is we just ignore the whole thing, right? We ignore the change, we ignore the transition. Or we hang on. That's a favorite of mine. I've been here a gazillion years. And sometimes I wonder, am I just hanging on? But Naropa keeps changing, so that solves that one. Another thing, which is a metaphor from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is where one can find more about the Bardo teachings, is they suggest that one of the things we do is we try to sorry about this one, but we try to crawl back into our corpse. Something has died, and we try to keep it going. You know the one where you're in a relationship, or you're at Naropa, or whatever, and you don't ever, it gets pretty stale, you know, but you keep doing it, whatever it is. Jobs, relationships, style of wearing your hair, whatever it is. We don't change. We hang on. We don't even try to revive it. We could do that, but we don't. Another thing that we do at endings, which I've seen a lot at Naropa, is we become critical of where we've been. And we say, well, that wasn't so important anyway. I didn't really want to be in that marriage. I didn't really want to stay at Naropa. I didn't really like that job anyway, whatever it is. And that, it's been called an optimal, masks are wonderful, optimal distance fight. We might actually get into a fight with somebody so that we can leave. You know that one? So watch out for that one. So just a couple of other thoughts about what happens in those transition times. Often we just don't know, and we think we should. The suggestion here is that if you don't know, you could rest in not knowing. I've been quoted on this one. I often talk to my students about the positive quality of awkwardness and of stupidity. Stupidity is actually just space if you experience it directly. You just don't know, right? I know that I was never rewarded for saying, oh, I don't know the answer to that, let me think about it. I never got rewarded for that, but at Naropa I hope you have been. And I hope you will continue that kind of open-mindedness. Another thing that happens in transition is that habitual patterns don't work, right? You're used to having a particular way you do your life, and right now that's done, right? And you don't have a new one yet. So that's an in-between Bardo time. And you could be curious. Could even enjoy it. So one of the things that often happens as well in that in-between time is we get caught up in ambivalence. I've seen students do this. I actually had a student who couldn't decide between becoming a monk and living in a monastery for the rest of his life, or what was the other thing he was considering? Becoming a psychotherapist, which is really different. And he went back and forth and back and forth. And that kind of intense ambivalence is always intense. You don't sort of feel one way and sort of feel another. You intensely feel this way, and then you intensely feel that way. Some of you are nodding. And the suggestion here is practice not taking sides. I might be quoting Judy Leaf, I don't know. So let me end with not exactly a poem, but a verse. In the Tibetan Book of the Lead, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, there are many prayers and many verses of the prayers. And I wrote a new one. So this is a new bardo. Now when the bardo of graduation is dawning upon me, I will abandon my textbooks, rest my laptop, and abide in the expanse of unscheduled time. I will abandon all thoughts of fear and anxiety and recognize that whatever thoughts of the future arise are my projections, and they're not actually happening right now. I will let go of my memories of how things used to be and know that I cannot travel back to an old idea of normal. I will rest in the uncertainty that is really nothing but space, knowing that I share this experience of not knowing with everyone. I will remember that only by bringing awareness and curiosity to the present moment will I find the path forward that cultivates compassion and skillfulness for myself and others. Thank you.
So, disclosure, my notes just went off the stage. Thank you so much. After the typo with the number of years that Professor Kissel-Wagela, I'm even more committed to following my agenda, which I'm not always very good at doing, by the way. So, right. Thank you so much, Professor Kissel-Wagela, for reminding us about the pause in transition in such a beautiful way. It's now my pleasure to introduce Sue Hammond-West and welcome our Chief Academic Officer and Vice President for Academic Affairs to the stage. Sue has served in numerous roles at Naropa for 26 years. Most recently, as I said, as Chief Academic Officer and VP of Academic Affairs since early 2021. Thank you.
Naropa University graduates, class of 2021. It is my great pleasure to give you the charge. I chose two meanings of the word charge to empower you. One, to entrust you with a task or as a duty or a responsibility, and two, to store electrical energy. I wish upon you both these charges. I wish for you a contemplative life where you find times to be free of views and are unconventional, bewildered with big sky mind. In this way, you belong everywhere. To experience this openness, to practice belonging, this is the ultimate intimacy, being one with whatever is in front of you. Then you belong to this moment. To belong in this way is to love. The small self disappears, mutual belonging, and then you love by taking care of things and love all beings. I entrust you to the future of love and that which brings you alive. The architect Christopher Alexander writes, "To bring a building alive, you must build it with a quality without a name. And to create a quality without a name, you must do everything with love." The poet Rumi states, "Let the beauty of what you love be what you do." In art training, there's a saying, "Fortune favors bold." Be bold. Be unapologetically and tenaciously you. Angel Kyoto Williams says, "By being honestly willing to engage in your suffering, we find our connection to the suffering of the world." Stay the course. This is intimacy. Love boldly. From the book Love in the Time of Terror, Barry Lopez states, "We need to step into a deeper conversation with enchantment and agape to actively explore a greater capacity to love one another." We have had a few tough years. We are heartbroken and exhausted, and yet against all odds, many odds, graduates, you have made it here today. I congratulate you deeply. Michael Beckwith calls the tough times a dark night of the soul. These are times of existential dread, spiritual drought, grief. In these times, he suggests we walk in remembered radiance. If you recall times that were radiant in your life, then you will be ready to remember them when things are tough. Be ready. Now for the charge. I give you a high five. The high five is a gesture which you slap the palm of your hand against the palm of someone else's hand about a victory or accomplishment. This is electric. This is a form of kinetic energy. The charge of Naropa University class of 2021 has 5 parts. 1, entrust in that which brings you alive as a practice of love. 2, amp up your electromagnetic presence. Continually recharge yourself. 3, belong to each moment and each being. 4, be bold. 5, walk in remembered radiance. Well done and high five.
Sue, I think you're introducing Linda now. That's great. See, I can follow notes.
Introducing Dr. Linda Black, our Graduate Dean of Counseling Psychology, to read the names of the graduates.
Let's roll. Kiva Desan Holman. Well done. Blake Josephine Iris Stone. Allison Michelle Bruner. Rachel Ann Kelly. Sophia Marie Franco. Charissa Laree Clausen. Mukti Devi. Catherine Mall. Lincoln Hobson Taggart. Alicia Rosa May Allen. Darren Ashley Hyde. Arisha Cochran. Shane Stephen Carey. Erin Nicole King. Samantha Joy Mendel. Estrella Di Maria Portillo. Kelsey Verdini. Faith Elizabeth Christian. Sarah Dolly McKay. Soren Swan Holmgren. Shara Marie Chabot.
High five.
Beautifully done. Congratulations. I have just a few final words, but before that, I just want to let everyone know that there's a short reception afterwards in South Atrium, first and second floor, following our closing bow. And there's also a photo area set up for pictures with family and friends on the second floor. And I would just like to say from my own tradition that we're in the river with you. That's what the elders say, right? And I also just want to share that I had the opportunity to sit through, to be present for the projects that you did, for those of us that I could attend. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this community. You will do and are doing great things in the world. And I look forward to hearing and knowing and being present around how you continue to transform yourselves and how you continue to transform the world. Thank you very, very much. And now Chuck Leaf will lead us in our closing bow.
So we have a few left. If anybody wants to work something out, you can check in with Sue. We can try to see what we can do. Before we do the closing bow, I just have to say, to have Sue, Lauren, and Linda now in place as academic leaders and these incredibly strong women who are bringing so much vision and heart and skill to Naropa has been something I've dreamt about for the last 10 years. And so it's really, I'm really delighted just to acknowledge that we have sort of created this leadership body with such strength. So I just want to express my gratitude for that. So thank you for that. And so congratulations again. I will ring the gong. We will do a bow. And then, as Lauren's notes say, reception and mingling. So mingling, it's all up to you to mingle.